What is up, everyone? We are back. Been probably like a week since I've streamed, but yeah, going over Dolphins rookie minicamp yesterday. Not too much craziness to go over, but we can go over some of the things that were said. I feel like honestly, just listening to the class like talk and the guys they brought in, it does feel like I've seen people talking about. It does feel like different, and I definitely agree with the mentality a lot of these guys have. I think there was definitely a clear focus on bringing guys who are very hard workers. I think that was like kind of the plan. And they got very young. We're going to go over some of that stuff. But some definitely interesting news. Players to talk about, kind of my expectations, I think, for the rookie class, and just, get over them individually. We'll get people get in here. I think first thing first. Oh yeah, definitely. If you guys are in here, I have my next film breakdown will be on Monterey Baldwin. That will come out at noon Eastern, so in 2 hours. Definitely check that out. He's one of my favorite sleeper UDFAs. Super small, fast player, but definitely stronger than you think, man. The guy is a freak. Like, he benches more than double his body weight, and there's like video of him squatting 550, and the dude weighs less than 170. It's ridiculous. What's up, Don? We're working on an HVAC system. Hey, appreciate you stopping by, listening in. Yeah. So the rookie minicamp day one. Rookie minicamps this weekend. Day one was yesterday. They'll have day two later today. It was cool to see all the rookies go in their interviews. I think there were some cool talking points that we can go over. There's another report that I don't know if you guys saw this. This was a few days ago by Jeremy Fowler at ESPN. He has like a thing that he posts where he goes through each team and like goes through little nuggets of information that he heard. And basically, he didn't say anything too crazy about Miami, but the first thing he said was just like pointing about like how people like the Jonah pick, but they expected the Dolphins to go after more offensive linemen. And then the other thing he said, which I thought was pretty interesting, was the Dolphins internally are confident that Dante Trader Jr. will play early due to his instincts and versatility, which I thought was interesting. I think I'm one of the bigger fans of Trader out of the people out there. And that would be, it is one of those positions where it's up in the air, the safety position. I feel like if you look at that group, I could see all of them getting playing time, and I've talked about this now recently. Like, I want to see the young guys play, especially at safety. I think Melifonwu is like their for sure starter at one of the spots. But even Melifonwu has like never played a full season, so that's even, you'll see guys play. Then after that, like, I feel like every spot's just truly up for grabs for actually playing time. So nice to see that going on. I like Trader a lot. I like to give him, McMorris, give those guys some chances. I think Trader, and even if you listen to Trader's interview, it was very interesting because he was talking about earning what he has to do. He clearly seems like a very intelligent person off the field as well. And he even talked about at Maryland, like, he was like, there was only one guy that would beat him there to watch film, and it was Jordan Phillips, who would work out, and the Dolphins got both of them. And it felt like they are finding guys that just love football. Which is cool. Also, this is interesting. This chart right here. Let me go here and show you guys. But basically, you take a look at this chart. It's the 2025 NFL Draft mean pick age on draft night, and the Dolphins were by far the youngest. Like, they have a large, like, everyone, like, this graph kind of goes like slightly down the whole time. And then they're like by far the youngest, almost like a little over 21 and a half was their average age, which I went through and looked. They didn't draft a single player that's over the age of 22, which is pretty crazy for having as many draft picks as they did. Usually you draft one guy that's like in the age range of 23. But everyone was 21 or 22, and then Jordan Phillips is 20. So it felt like that was a clear emphasis of this offseason, was just to get younger. And the Dolphins I believe they were the oldest team in the league last year, and now they're one of like the youngest teams in the league. And they drafted super young. And a lot of the guys they added in free agency, their free agent class was also fairly young for free agents, because usually free agents don't end up being like super, super young, but they brought in a lot of guys that are in that like 27-ish range, which is nice for a second contract. But yeah, I do like seeing them get younger. Another guy who I finally got some Western Michigan film to check out, so I just made a video on Addison West. Dolphins brought in 2 Western Michigan offensive linemen. Addison West is one of them. I just recorded the film breakdown, so you'll see like my full film breakdown on him. But he is interesting. I think West is interesting. He actually reminds me of Andrew Meyer, who made the Dolphins team last year. They have similar strengths and weaknesses. And West played most of his time at right guard, but there is film of him in that in the what's it called game going against Ohio State, where he played center majority of that game. He only missed like the first 3 snaps. I think that their normal center played, but he got hurt. So he played most of his snaps at center, and it was his best game of the season versus Ohio State, who's a very good competition. And he had some really good center reps. You'll see like his outside zone awareness and stuff like that. Some definitely quality stuff to work with there. Let's see. Do you think Conyers could still make the roster? Even yeah. I think that's something that gives him a better chance to make the roster. Don, is he does have that versatility. I do think he is one of those guys that he has the build that he can play Y, but his skill set and the way he has been used has been more of an F tight end. And I think that gives him a good chance, because last year the Dolphins kept 4 tight ends, one of them being Tanner Connor, who was more of that backup F. So if Conyers can play both F and Y, that would give him a much higher chance of making the roster. And he has that skill set. I think if he can just get a little more play strength in his ability, he's improved as a blocker, that gives him a decent chance to make it. But just going through here, yeah, so Addison West played guard, but I think he's a center at the next level, center for the Dolphins, and I actually think he could push Andrew Meyer, because they actually remind me of similar players. Another thing I noticed is the Dolphins went heavy on Shrine Bowl players. They've actually gotten some Shrine Bowl players, so remember this for the future. Keep an eye on Shrine Bowl players. I feel like sometimes Shrine Bowl players get ignored for the Senior Bowl. Dolphins took at least 2 Shrine Bowl guys last year in Malik and Taj Washington, and this year they took 4 guys. Like Kenneth Grant was there. He didn't participate, I don't believe, but he was there. And then the other 3, they took Jordan Phillips, Zeke Biggers, and Jason Marshall. They were all at the Shrine Bowl. So, and I believe that was basically tied for the most Shrine Bowl players drafted by a team. That was just something interesting. So now I know to keep an eye on those Shrine Bowl players a little more tightly. Dolphins also made some roster moves the other day. They waived Ryan Cooper Jr., Neil Farrell, Jason Hines, and Blake Ferguson. Nothing too crazy there. I don't feel like any of that's surprising. Maybe Blake Ferguson is surprising to some, but there was that weird point of last season where like he just disappeared and we didn't figure out why. They also brought in a long snapper. They brought in a UDFA long snapper, so we'll have a new long snapper this season, it seems like. Malik Washington posted a video of him, working with people. Love seeing Malik get in work. I love Malik. I'm excited to see him in his next season. Dolphins also, I believe, signed most of their class. I think the only one who hasn't signed yet is Jonah. I believe they signed 7, which I feel like it's the earliest they've signed people. Usually it's not this quick. So it's nice that they got most of the class done. They also released the rookie numbers. Let's see if I can pull it up right here. But yeah, here's the rookie numbers. Nothing, I think some of these are subject to change. At least there's nothing too egregious here. I don't know if I love any of them. I like Trader in 29. That gives the Brandon Jones vibes. I can see that. I think Ewers will probably change from 14. I think you mentioned that. I like Gordon in 31. Jason Marshall in 33. I think that should change. I think 33 is more of a safety number. But Jonah taking over Armstead's number, Jordan Phillips taking over Wilkins' numbers, that's interesting. Kenneth Grant in 90, which I think Deshaun Hand wore last. But yeah, nothing too bad here. Nothing at least horrible. Sometimes you see these really bad numbers these rookies have to wear, but usually those end up changing at least a little bit. Dolphins finally announced all the undrafted free agents they brought in. It was pretty much everyone we've talked about. Except Trevin Rybka. They signed him recently from Kentucky. He's interesting. He's more of a 3-4 defensive end type. Has some good movement skills, some good hand usage, but I do think he needs to pack on some play strength for him to have a chance. But he was an interesting addition to that room, because the D-tackle room don't have a ton of players with that exact skill set. Yeah, that's a good point, Garrett. I didn't bring up. Jaden Higgins got a fully guaranteed contract. I don't think any second-round picks have gotten that before until this year, so that could be holding up the Jonah stuff. I'm not too worried about it. Like, he'll sign eventually. I mean, it is what it is. Like, usually we don't even sign. Like, I feel like by this point we have like 1 or 2 people signed, sometimes 0. So getting 7 is a pretty good start. Yeah, the UDFAs. Yeah, Kenneth Grant in his interviews was talking about like he being like a culture changer, hard worker. I love Trader's interview. Trader went like in depth about him being a sponge and ready to learn, and it definitely showcases. Another thing I liked from yesterday was the reports that a lot of veterans actually came to the rookie camp. The ones that were being reported that were there were at least Ashton Davis, Kidder Ko, Ifeatu Melifonwu, Patrick Paul, Matt Dickerson, and Brewer. So nice to see some vets showing up. They don't need to, obviously. They're not even supposed to be there, but it's nice to see them, want to see what's going on with this group of the rookies. It's very important. I think the only one, like, I saw the reporters, they didn't mention too much of the on-field stuff. I think I saw them mention, like, Quinn Ewers had some hits, had some misses. Nothing too crazy there. I think it's kind of expected. I feel like the one player that I did see get hyped up a little bit was Theo Weiss Jr. He made some nice high point traffic catches, apparently. Like, made a few of them, and, like, I think a couple of beat reporters said that. So that is something to keep in mind. I know people have been on the Armstrong train, and while I think Armstrong has slightly better film than Weiss, it is close enough. And as I've been saying, keep an eye on the money given out to UDFAs. It's so important. And Theo Weiss Jr. was the UDFA given the most guaranteed money. It was like $230,000. And then I think the other UDFAs that got like 6 figures guaranteed were Conyers and Saunders Jr., the Ole Miss safety. So those guys will have a upper hand just based on that stuff alone. So don't sleep on Theo Weiss. And I like Weiss's game. He's not as explosive as Armstrong, but he's a little more like nuanced, detailed, like with his route stuff. Like I could see why someone would really want to get him as a UDFA. But yeah, Dante Trader Jr. said the only person that ever beat him into the facility at Maryland was Jordan Phillips. Both, he was getting there at 6:30 to watch film. Jordan Phillips in that weight room, clearly working. You can see, like, they posted some videos, nothing too crazy, really, just some workout stuff. Like here's Kenneth Grant moving at 90. I mean, man, him being able to, like, just to move that well at this size is absolutely ridiculous. Obviously, it's just a drill, but this shows up on film. Like his feet moving that fast. And like I got more film like on Kenneth Grant. I watched some games last night on Kenneth Grant that I hadn't had a chance to watch yet. The kid is legit, man. His disruption, his disruptive capability at his size is honestly super impressive. But yeah. Yeah, here's some other videos that were posted. McDaniel walking around. There's the Kenneth Grant video, him moving super, super well. Quinn Ewers getting some throws, and you can't really see you don't really get to see much other than his mechanics. But I think he's the only quarterback there, unless one of like the tryout players is a quarterback, then that could be the case. I haven't looked into who they added in the tryouts yet. There's Jordan Phillips wearing 94. I have high expectations for Jordan Phillips. Honestly, I have really high expectations for Jordan Phillips. Probably more so. Like, he's my favorite value pick. I've mentioned that. You just see, he was doing some drop back stuff. Nothing too crazy. This is rookie minicamp. I think Trader looks. The 29 is a good safety number. McDaniel talking to Jonah, wearing 72. He's still out there. Because I even saw, I think the Bengals had a couple picks. The Bengals have a couple picks that are. They didn't sign, and they're also like not practicing until they sign, which you don't need to do because there is like a thing in the NFLPA where like you would get your money. Yeah, I like what I heard from the interview. I think I mentioned a little bit earlier, Moogie, but I think this class just sounds like all very like hungry, very hard workers. Now it is just talk at this point, but from just like hearing from other outside sources as well, like these people have a clear love of the game, which I think is huge. I think it's an underrated part of draft sometimes. is people's love of the game, because you can have the most talent in the world, but if you don't put in the work, once you get to the NFL level, you can kind of get, that's where things fall apart, because some guys are so naturally talented, they can get at the high school and college level and still be so good without putting in the work. But once you get to the NFL level, you have to have a level of work ethic to really make it, unless you're like crazy talented. Seems like all these guys are very intelligent too. You can tell they're definitely intelligent, have an understanding of what they need to do. Now, if they do it, I still have high hopes that they will, but it is just talk at this point. But I do love the interviews. I think Trader sounded super intelligent. I like what I heard from Kenneth Grant as well. Those were like probably the big ones. Quinn Ewers had some good comments too. I'm excited to hear more about the undrafted guys. But yeah, I think the only other clip was they posted a handoff from Quinn Ewers to Ollie Gordon. Obviously, there's nothing too much to really see here in the clips. We'll get to see more once training camp really rolls around. But yeah, Theo Weiss getting hyped up. Weiss and Adams, yeah. Emery Hunt, he's a good football mind. I saw he did an interview. I haven't had a chance to check out who he was talking about, but yeah, I think the UDFA class is pretty solid. And the more I get into it, like I'm even finding names like we've obviously talked about my top guys, but like I have a Monterey Baldwin video coming out today that you guys should definitely check out. One of my favorite guys, like super fun, like, and you wouldn't expect it because he's like a little under 5'9" and he's a little under 170. So you're expecting like you have a vision of how he'll play. But this guy is a vertical threat and much stronger than you think. Like this guy benches 365, squats 550 at that size, which is crazy. So I wouldn't sleep on him. I think I wouldn't sleep on Addison West either from Western Michigan. Similar player to Andrew Meyer, who made the team last year. And then, yeah, I like a lot of the guys people have been talking about. Armstrong, Weiss, Saunders, Conyers, BJ Adams, Ethan Robinson. This gets me to my point. Let's talk about BJ Adams, Ethan Robinson, Jason Marshall Jr. I said this on Reason's stream a few days ago. If you guys haven't checked that out, I went on Reason's channel, Inside the NFL, for the first time. We had a pretty good discussion. It was pretty fun. But yeah, I mentioned I had a theory about what the Dolphins were doing this offseason, and he confirmed that he had heard this. So, and this was just something I had sort of found out on my own. But all signs point to Miami running more man-to-man and more press-man this season. It sort of started out by me looking at other teams that run a similar system. The Seahawks, Baltimore, Weaver has, he came from the Ravens. They're running a similar system still. The Seahawks got McDonald, who was the Ravens D coordinator beforehand. Basically, the main difference in those systems with the Dolphins is they ran man cover one at a much higher rate. That was like the main difference. Cover one was ran like 10% higher. And then, so that sort of got in my mind, like, okay, I wonder if Weaver, if he gets the right personnel, is going to run more man-to-man. So then I started looking at it. They cut Kendall Fuller very early. Like, corner was a weakness. They cut Kendall Fuller. You think they might have waited even for like a post-June 1st cut for Kendall Fuller, because that would save more money. Maybe, wait on what they were doing at the position, all the Ramsey stuff they knew. But they cut Fuller because he is not a press man-to-man to corner. That was sort of how I'm feeling. Like, he obviously had the injuries, but he is a zone off-man guy. So that was sort of the first thing. Even Ramsey, who they are comfortable moving on with. Ramsey can play press man and do it decently well, but that's when he got beat last year, it was mostly in press man. And he has always throughout his career mostly played out of phase, played a lot of zone match coverages. So even he's not necessarily known for his press man ability. Then you look at all the players they brought in, even not the corners. Look at Melifonwu, who's a safety. He is a guy who can match up and play man on tight ends. The only corner they kept that was a starter was Kohu, and Kohu obviously had his best season as a rookie when the Dolphins played a lot of man-to-man coverage. Even the younger guys like Storm Duck looked more comfortable, I feel like, in man last season than in zone. And then you look at the guys they brought in, Jason Marshall Jr. at his best in press man, BJ Adams at his best in press man, even Ethan Robinson, the other UDFA they brought in, at his best in press man. So I really do believe like press man is going to be run at a much higher rate this season, which I think is good. I think sometimes I think the Dolphins in obvious passing situations did a really good job with their disguising coverages. I loved the way they utilized their zone looks and their pre to pro snap rotations in those situations. but in their basic looks, like on like 1st and 10, sometimes like, you know, like a second and medium where like there's a decent chance they could run the ball. I think sometimes their zone was pretty predictable and could be attacked like soft. Especially, but when they could combine their front looks with the back looks, they did a really good job. But I think being able to add man to those in those obvious, like those earlier situations where you think they could run, will not allow for easier completions, which is nice. And you're trying to get after them with 4, so I think that is a big reason. But yeah, making a clean. True, Don. Though you're talking about the ears video. Hey, I appreciate that, Cells GG. I do get that a lot. A lot of people think because they watch my film breakdowns and they can't see me. So I think I don't get it in real life, but I think over a microphone, I've only ever gotten it like on YouTube and like if I'm playing video games and someone hears my voice or something over a mic, I think it just amplifies it to be higher or something. Like I just sound even younger than I do. And when you don't see my face, then you start coming to conclusions. But yeah. Appreciate that, man. Oh yeah, Travis Wingfield had him on. Yeah, I agree, W. Nice to see him making some adjustments. I think that's what he wanted to do from the beginning, but it is also a good thing that like he saw what he had and who they were bringing in and was like, hey, this just makes more sense. And now you're still able to do the stuff you did from year 1, the stuff that worked, but now you can add in that man-to-man element, mix things up, certain games, you know, depending on who you're playing. So I hope that'll be interesting to see how that affects the secondary, because obviously you're less talented. You think the Dolphins are going to pick up any other corners in the offseason? Who would be a good pickup for Isabella? I do think they'll still add at corner. I think corner is like the one position I'm still expecting them to add at. There's some names. Now, if they were to, like, the man-to-man thing is a theory. We have heard, you know, from people with sources that it is what they're trying to lean to. But if they are still going to go zone heavy like they did last season, I would add Rasul Douglas as a signing. But Douglas is not much of a man-to-man guy. So if they are going to go man-to-man, there's not a ton of great options. They could add Asante Samuel Jr. I don't love that because he has the injury history. There are some trade options they could go after, like Jair Alexander. Also, there's some other guys. Greg Newsome. If they want to go man-to-man, I've heard Jalen Watson could potentially be available from the Chiefs. They play a lot of man-to-man, and he has some good film there. So those are some potential names for agent-wise. But I think they're probably going to wait until the Ramsey thing happens. I think more of this stuff will happen around June 1st when they're more likely to make a Ramsey trade. So we'll see. I don't know, Garrett. I don't know if that had anything to play with it. I believe, from my understanding, the Ramsey stuff happened pretty early, so I'm guessing it didn't have to do with that. Maybe that, you know, maybe he found out as a part of it, but I feel like he was already leaning in that direction before he probably heard about any of that. But yeah, I would like to see a lot of that's. If there's any positions, it would be that I want to see the young guys play. It's corner and safety. You got to know what you have going in. Like, this is team, you kind of are building for the future of this team. You got really young. You draft a lot of people who could potentially change your culture. A lot of these guys will be gone. Like, a lot of the, you know, big name vets will probably be gone after the season, like Tyreek and stuff like that. You're probably moving on from Ramsey this season. You got to know what you have in that secondary, because outside of the secondary, you kind of have a person at every spot. Like D-line and edge, you're set, right? Like, you have at least your starters down for a couple of years. At multiple spots, you even have some good depth at spots. Now, edge, you might need to add because Phillips and Chubb could be gone after the season, but you still have at least Chop. D-tackle, you're still going to have Sealer Grant. At off-ball linebacker, you're still going to have Jordan Brooks. On O-line, you're still going to have like Brewer, and you'll have the young guys you drafted. You'll still have James Daniels. At receiver, you're still going to have Waddle. You'll still have some big names there. Tight end's one of the positions. Maybe you don't because Jonnu might leave. Running back, you'll still have like Achane. But like DBs is that one position where like next year you don't really have anyone that's like a for sure thing at those spots. So like I would love to see the young guys play, figure out what you have. So going into next season, when you have to spend at those spots, you have a clearer picture of what's going on. Do you know what he graded it? I only saw like some clips of the Emory Hunt thing. I don't know what he graded it. To be honest, I don't care too much for the grades, but I can try to give you my opinion depending on what he says. Yeah. But yeah, so I want to see the young guys play for sure. Like whether that's Trader, McMorris. I would love to see Trader McMorris play. Even giving Saunders a chance. I mean, the safety room, it'll be interesting who even makes it because one of those young guys would probably be the odd man out unless they get rid of like an Ashton Davis. Because I think they're going to keep Elijah Campbell for special teams. I think Weaver really likes Elijah Campbell. I think Melifonwu was like for sure brought in to start. He does have the injury history though, so that's something to keep in mind. But we could go through expectations. So let's start with the draftees. I think my expectations all around are like, I actually expect pretty much everyone to make the roster, just starting with that. Even the late round guys, like I don't think anyone, I think they're going to keep 3 QBs, so Uri's going to make it. I think Biggers will make it because I think you keep 5 D tackles usually, and I think he's your 5th guy right now just due to the numbers. I see Gordon making it. I see Trader making it. Marshall, and then obviously all the other people will make it. So starting with that, yeah, I expect everyone to make it, and I expect mostly everyone to probably see playing time at some point. Biggers would see like very little playing time, but like he could be like a end man of the rotation, see a few snaps. Ewers would only see playing time with injuries, but we know we've seen the Dolphins have lots of QB injuries because Tua's had his injuries. But even when Tua gets injured, every time the backups come in, they get injured right away. We've seen it with Bridgewater. We saw it last year with Skyler, and then also with Huntley. Like every time the Dolphins have Tua go down, their backups also get injured. So he could easily play. I expect Gordon to see a little bit of playing time, probably more so later in the season. I've talked about the DBs. The DB spots are soft, so those guys should be playing time. And then obviously Grant, Jonah, and Phillips will definitely see playing time. Like your top 3 guys that will definitely see lots of playing time. Expectations, I think Grant is the guy I expect to be the biggest impact. I know some people think it could be a chop situation where maybe it's a little bit of a slow start. But I think he has a little bit of a higher floor in a sense of like, I still think like there's some things he needs to put together. And like, I think he'll get better as the season goes on, but I think he'll have a little bit of higher floor early on. Just to do like his size and ability alone. And like, he's a better disruptor than given credit for. I actually think, like, I think people will disagree, but I think he's better at disrupting than holding his own at point of attack. And I know that's usually not the case for guys of his size. But I'm expecting a quality season from Grant. Maybe not statistically. Like, I'm not expecting him to put up crazy numbers, but I think film-wise, he's going to have a good season. So my expectations are there. I think similarly for Jonah, I think he's going to be solid year one. He's going to be a solid starting guard. I think this system is going to help him out a lot. I think the O-line system is actually very friendly, especially in pass pro. So I think there will be some growing pains like in the run game for him, but it won't be anything egregious. It will be a clear upgrade over what you had last year for sure. It will still be an upgrade. So that's like the positive is like James Daniels, Jonah, even Daniels coming off the injury and Jonah being a rookie. They're still going to be better than what you had last season. I do think there will be a little bit of growing pain from them, but overall, I'm expecting a pretty solid season year one and then probably develop and be like a quality starter in year 2, 3. Jordan Phillips, I think Jordan Phillips will be better than in year one than most people because he's 20 years old. People, he's a little bit raw, but I think people are underestimating. I think he's going to be your D tackle 3. I think he's going to take over for Benito Jones pretty early. So he's going to be heavily a part of a rotation. He's scheme versatile. Like you can put him in, you can play from nose to 3. He can 1 gap, he could 2 gap. He's powerful as all hell. He's so explosive. I think he's going to be a quality rotational 3rd guy for you year one. Maybe not instantly, but I expect it to happen like fairly quickly into the season. Like I have higher expectations for Jordan Phillips than most, I think. So that's one I have pretty good high expectations for. And I think Weaver, seems like Grant Phillips are guys I'm super high on. Weaver was a D tackle coach. He knows how to make life easy on the defensive line. So he will help those guys out as much as possible. I think next, Jason Marshall Jr., I think there will definitely be a lot of growing pains there. I do think he'll see some playing time. It won't happen right away, in my opinion. But I expect it to be very up and down. Like, he'll have some impressive reps, but he'll definitely get beat. It's just the nature of the position. He's probably going to be put into a lot of man-to-man. For me, I'm just hoping for Marshall that we can see the flashes, because that's kind of what I'm expecting for most of the secondary. There's going to be growing pains if he has to play. He will get beat, but he'll have some positive reps mixed in there. But it won't be, I don't think it's going to be the easiest thing to watch. Trader, I actually think if Trader plays, I don't think he'll play right away, but I think at some point in the season, they're going to try to get him involved. Like, there's reports that the Dolphins are high on him. He has the instincts and versatility to see playing time early. It wouldn't surprise me if he sees some, and if he plays, like, I wouldn't be surprised if he plays solid, especially for a 5th round guy. Like, I don't have crazy high expectations. I don't expect him to be like a high-end contributor, but I think he can be a consistent, disciplined player and do his job. Then who is next? That's the 5th rounders. After that, we got Gordon, the 6th, yeah. I think Gordon, man, it's tough to say. Like, okay, it is Madison's first year, so I think Gordon should be RB3, but just due to, like, the veteran stuff, will Madison win RB3? That's, like, the thing, like, the politics of it. I think Gordon should be RB3, and I think he should get, like, pass pro work and short yardage work. I don't think it's going to happen instantly, but I think at some point in the season, he'll get that role. Injuries happen at the running back position, too. I don't think he's going to be like a guy that's going to get a ton of carries unless there's injuries. But I do think he can carve out a role as your RB3 in, like, the second half of the season and be, like, pretty solid at that, as in, like, an RB3. Do his job. I'm not expecting anything crazy. But I think for a 6th round pick, he'll probably contribute more than most 6th round picks. As I talked about with Ewers, I think he can be a potential solid backup. I don't think it's going to happen right away. I think he's going to be your QB3 this year, and he probably won't play unless 2 injuries happen. And then, yeah, same for Biggers. He'll probably be a guy that makes the roster, probably is... He's more of a developmental guy. He'll probably, I think, be the guy that's on the roster, but that is probably not active early on. And then once an injury happens, probably be active, and then he'll play like 5-10 snaps in a game. And then I wouldn't expect anything crazy for him. Maybe have a flash play here or there. I think you're just hoping he doesn't get like blown off the ball kind of thing. But I wouldn't say I have crazy high expectations for Zeke. He's more of a hopefully year 2-3 guy that can really turn it up for you. That's kind of how I feel about that. And then UDFAs, I don't know, I'm probably going to go too in-depth in the UDFAs because we don't even know who's going to make the team at UDFAs. But there are some guys that I think could make an impact. Conyers. I could see Armstrong or Weiss being like your wide receiver 5, seeing some playing time, making some catches. John Saunders Jr. is another name to throw in there at safety. That's probably it, though. Asante, maybe if he makes it, he would be special teams kind of guy. That's kind of how I'm feeling about expectations of the rookie class. I've seen way too many supposed draft picks which called Grant strictly nose tackle. It's pretty shocking. Yeah, I think that's like a group think thing. I think sometimes something gets said and like you look at the numbers and like you look at how he's built and you think, okay, he's a nose tackle. And yeah, he plays some nose and he plays one tech and he has a lot of dominant reps there. But it's also pretty clear with how he moves and where he still played at Michigan. Like there's plenty of times where he played as a 2-eye and a 3 tech. Sometimes even went wider than that. I do think he'll make most of his living though as a nose to 3 tech, which is fine. Like, but yeah, I think people are limiting what he's going to do early on. I think I'm going to make a video on this. I think on both Grant and Phillips. I already made videos on them, obviously. But I think after I'm done with the UDFAs, I plan on making a video on both of them. I think for Phillips, I want to show that he's a better pass rusher than people are giving him credit for. And then I think for Grant, I want to show that like he's a better penetrator and he does more stuff outside of the nose tackle thing. I want to break down the nose tackle narratives. Like if there's players that have narratives that I think are wrong, like similarly with Chop, I just did the whole Chop Robinson run defense thing. Like if there's narratives that I think are wrong, like so Jordan Phillips, Kenneth Grant, I want to sort of show some film to why I think those narratives are not 100% true. Like there's some truth to it. Like obviously Grant will play a lot of nose, but like he's more than that. Same with Phillips. Like Phillips is a raw as a pass rusher, but like he had a 16.7% pass rush win rate. And as a D tackle that was mostly playing nose tackle in one tech, having that high of a win rate when you are raw is actually ridiculous. Like he's going to be more disruptive than people think. So those are two guys that I still want to point out for sure. Given the change at wide receiver, do you see any improvement? Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know much about the receiver. It's always tough with these positional coaches because it's really tough to know, like, when they do come from places, if they are successful enough, like how much of an impact they actually have. Because sometimes it's just the players being really good. Sometimes it's the system they're in. And sometimes, yeah, the coaches are really, really good. But when you're not in the room, it's really hard to know that. I don't expect it to get worse, though. Like, I don't think Welker did anything, like, necessarily bad, but I don't think he really elevated that room necessarily. Maybe Malik. Maybe he elevated the guys who were kind of like him, those quick, shifty slot receivers. But maybe with a new receiver coach, he could help elevate guys that they brought in that are like the bigger UDFAs. But yeah. Bold prediction, Storm Duck becomes a starter out of the gate this year. I mean, if they trade Ramsey, it wouldn't be that surprising. He played a lot of snaps last year. He was your like fourth guy last year, and with Fuller and Ramsey probably being gone and Cole only being your main guy, Storm Duck could easily, yeah, I think he could easily start this season. I don't know if that's the best thing necessarily, because Duck had some good reps last year, but he definitely was far from perfect. Hopefully year 2 he can take a jump. But as a UDFA, like, you're not having crazy high expectations for UDFAs anyways. I think for a UDFA, he played fine. But like, when you're thinking of it just like as a football starter, like, you need some improvement. So I think, to me, I'm looking at it like this. I think you have Kohu. I think you have someone you either sign or trade for. And then I think the third guy, because I think they're going to try to, in base, you'll probably have Kohu on the outside. But I think when you go to your nickel packages, which is basically base nowadays, Kohu will be on the inside. You'll have a free agent / trade guy who will be the other corner. And then I think the other corner will be either Duck, Cam Smith, Jason Marshall Jr., Ethan Bonner. It'll be one of the guys on your depth chart. It could be even Artie Burns. Like, it could be anyone. Like, no one has any lock on that spot. And yeah, they could do a rotation. I could also see them doing 3 safety sets this year. Like, so keeping like Kohu and whoever you sign in free agency on the outside. And then your 3 safety sets could be Melifonwu, because Melifonwu can play as like a big nickel, and you can have him match up on tight ends. So he could play that role for you, because Melifonwu did play corner in college, and he's even played some corner at the NFL level. So like, that's something they could do as well. If they wanted to go like big nickel, have Melifonwu play there, and then your 2 safeties could be, you know, whoever out of your rest of your guys, because they could all play split field roles. It could be Ashton, it could be Elijah, it could be the rookies, could be, you know. I want to see McMorris. Like, I really want to see Trader and McMorris. Trader versus McMorris. Trader and McMorris are 2 guys I'm very much looking forward to seeing this preseason. Because McMorris was one of the biggest surprises in the last year preseason. Like, he was very good in preseason. Then he had the injury and then never got quite to play in the regular season. But I think the Dolphins are very high on him. So I would love to see those 2 get some playing time. But yeah. That is something I could also see happening, is them rolling with 2 corners and then doing the 3 safety stuff, because the Ravens have done that in the past. The Dolphins did a little bit last year with 3 safety stuff. In certain games, they ran 3 safety a decent amount. But yeah. Let's see. Anything else? Oh yeah, I kind of wanted to go over like the people you brought in last year. I kind of wanted to go over some of those players, because one, I actually think last year, I think when it comes to like player evaluation, that's kind of like my strength, my key point. Like, when it comes to like evaluating players, like, there's still things obviously to learn when it comes to like scheme. Like, obviously, like football players, that's like when people talk about like ex NFL players that like are like analysts and stuff, a lot of them know a lot of scheme and stuff, but a lot of them are not great talent evaluators. Like, you see like some takes from people that, like, we saw Des Bryant call Quinn Ewers Dan Marino 2.0. Like, I think LaShawn McCoy has some like horrible takes on player evaluation. I would say that's like where I was kind of in my bag last year, because like my biggest free agent I likes were Brewer, Jordan Brooks, and Jonnu. I talked them up so much, and those were easily your 3 best free agents. I think where I probably maybe missed the mark a little bit was Fuller. I expected a little more from Fuller. Now, injuries did play a part in that, But I do think even when he was healthy, I expected a little bit more from him. So I think I was a little bit off on Fuller. I was right about Poyer because I remember I did some podcast where I was talking about Poyer. Someone asked me who I think would be the biggest disappointment going into the season. And I said Jordan Poyer just because I wasn't expecting super much from him. And I think some fans expected, him to be better than he was, and he was quite awful. And then draft-wise, I would say maybe I was a little too low on Patrick Paul. He played better than expected, but it's still very early in the process. He definitely needs to still take a jump. But I do think Paul is not going to be as big of an issue as maybe I thought initially. I think Chop I was right on the money with, and Malik, I was super high in Malik. And then McMorris, at least in preseason, looked better than I thought he would. And I think Kamara too. I think Kamara I expected to see a little bit more out of, which was a miss. I think the free agency though, I was kind of cooking in the free agency stuff. What are the odds that Eric Ezukanma and Tanner Conner stick on the team? Like the 53, I would say pretty low right now. I think they could stick on the practice squad. I think Conyers coming in and them giving him that guaranteed money and Connor's now been here. Jalen Conyers and then now Tanner Conner has been here for like 4 years. He hasn't really done anything. I think it's going to be tough for him to make the roster because he made the roster last year and you kept 4 tight ends. And I don't even know if they're going to keep 4 tight ends this year. They might just keep 3. So I think Connor's going to have it. And then last year they cut Ezukanma. Ezukanma was on the practice squad for most of the year. And now they have even more bodies that they brought in that I think they will like. And they'll have Taj Washington returning. So I think both of them are very unlikely to make a 53. They could be on the practice squad, which means they're still around, but yeah. Giants had a great draft. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to remember the Giants draft. I don't love Dart in the first round, but we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, they obviously Carter's a beast. They got Scadabo, right? I can't remember all the other players they got, but there are some good drafts out there. I don't remember seeing any drafts where I'm like, oh, that draft's horrible. Maybe the Niners. I remember that the Niners made some bad picks. They clearly went into the draft with the mind of like stopping the run on the defense, and I can respect that. But like, I don't think they made the best picks for the most part. I'm pretty sure they took like Nick Martin in the 3rd round or something like that, and that was crazy. And I didn't love their first few picks in terms of like value. I think they'll be solid players, but yeah, that's kind of how I see this team playing out. But yeah, I did. Yeah, definitely go check out that stream I did of the reason. It was pretty good. We went in depth on a lot of stuff. I made that Chop Robinson run defense video just because I feel like he was getting disrespected. Like they were talking about him like he couldn't play the run at all. And I feel like he was getting disrespected in general. Like I feel like people are underestimating even how good he was as a pass rusher last year. Especially like in the second half, he was truly dominant as a pass rusher. And I don't just throw that around like willy-nilly. The Dolphins didn't have much dominant players last year. In the second half of the season, the only dominant players you had were probably Chop and Sealer. And Campbell was playing pretty dominant as well, but he was playing like in a rotation, but he was playing really well. Like defensively, maybe Jordan Brooks could be thrown in that conversation, but like no one else was playing dominant. Even Ramsey was playing good, but not dominant. Offensively, I don't think anyone was playing dominant on the offense. What's up, Cliff? What's your take on Dolphins passing on Shedeur Sanders for Quinn injury-prone Ewers? Well, I wouldn't say... I mean, it's not necessarily a pass. I mean, they passed on Shedeur, but it wasn't for Ewers because Shedeur went 2 rounds before Ewers, so it's not really like they took Ewers to take Shedeur. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't really have a problem with it. I thought Shedeur was overrated just in general as a prospect, even not considering like off-field stuff, because I don't really care too much about that. Like he could be a distraction, but I also I've seen people compare. Like I remember I've seen many people compare Shedeur to Tua coming out, and I just didn't see it all. Like I thought Shedeur had a lot of trouble with his timing, and I think timing was so important. I actually thought, like, even though I don't like Ewers a lot as a player, in the 7th round, I think that's it where he should go. So I think the value is fine in the 7th. But I think as a scheme fit, I think Ewers is a much better scheme fit for McDaniel's system than Shedeur. That's just my take on it. But either way, it's a QB3, you know? I'm doing pretty good, Troll. How you doing? San Francisco draft felt redundant in a few reach. Yeah, well, I don't know if redundant's the right word. I'd have to look at the roster. I do think they did need to, like, bulk up, but yeah. Overrated, are you serious? Shedeur is better than Tua. He can read the defense way better. Hey, and that's why he went in the 5th round. Because he's a beast. Hey, appreciate your real vibes. Yeah. I've started saying it at the start or like a couple minutes in, because I've realized I don't say it, and then like people just, I said it in one video at the start, and I realized like it got way more likes than it usually does. So I just always forget. I've done it like now, like on all my film breakdowns recently, I've just forgotten. Derek Carr just retired? Interesting. I feel like that was, I mean, I didn't expect him to retire, but he was expected to move on from the Saints. Like, he retired? It's reported on Twitter. Oh, yeah, he did. Yeah, he's retiring. Wow. Interesting. I don't think Saints fans are mad. I mean, I think they were expected to, because they were expected to roll with, like, you know, Rattler, Tyler Shuck, all that. Really like the Raiders draft. Yeah, the Raiders did get a lot of my guys. The Raiders have a fun offense because Brock Bowers, Ashton Genty, Jack Besh, those are some studs. Yeah, that's the biggest problem with Shedeur is his timing and his holding onto the ball. He holds onto the ball way too long and he floats back in the pocket. It's so infuriating to watch, like, evaluating film. And you just cannot get away with that at the NFL level. And to me, he didn't have enough physical and athletic traits to make up for that, to be like, oh, I think he could improve in those areas. Like, yeah, I think he's going to get the ball up faster at the NFL level, but he didn't have the physical and athletic traits for me to just be like, oh yeah, let's take a chance on him. It just wasn't a great combination. Yeah, they could be. They have Geno at QB. I was just trying to think who their QB was. Geno is definitely, yeah, they're definitely going to be way better this year because Geno is definitely a QB you can win with if you have the right team around him. But yeah, interesting. Derek Carr retiring. You know, not a huge fan of the Carrs, just because I don't like David Carr's takes on that I've heard of have about the football, but it is what it is. Dar's a beast. Ears are really like two. If he doesn't have a strong arm, well, I would say one, Steve. I think he's lost arm strength. I think he's had injuries. Like, if you watch him on the film, like, his ball floats. Also, I don't know how true that throwing 85 yards is in 7th grade, but also arm strength isn't necessarily how far you can throw it. I feel like people think like how far you can throw it is pure arm strength. I think arm strength that really matters at the NFL level is like being able to throw with the ball into a tight window, like 15 yards, 20 yards down the field with velocity. Like, that is really where arm strength matters at the NFL level. Not necessarily how far you can throw it. Maybe if you're off like platform and you're rolling out, how far you can throw it can matter. But even most quarterbacks, like if Tua is in stride, like Tua has one of the weaker arms in the league. When Tua's like got good footwork and in stride, he can throw the ball, 60 yards in the air. But that doesn't mean he has a strong arm. It's more so like hitting those tight windows. And I don't think Ewers is really known for that either. And he's clearly lost something with his arm strength, which, sucks. Yeah, Carr had the shoulder injury. They got Genty. Yeah. Oh, I like Thornton. I don't know if I liked him in the 4th, but Thornton's, I went to all the Tennessee games. I hate Tennessee's offense. One, I hate how they utilize players. But yes, Dante Thornton is a threat vertically. They just could not always get him the ball. I don't know. I just didn't like this last year's QB class. I think next year's QB class will be everyone right now. I don't think there's like a for sure set in stone guy. but there's a lot of guys that I think have a lot more upside than this previous year's class. Like, there's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of names. So, like, I'm expecting at least some of them to take the step up, too. There's a lot of names left next year, and I'm hoping a lot of them take a step, because I think next year the Dolphins should be looking for quarterback if the class is quality. Because even if Tua plays great, which I think he could, and stays healthy, I still think you got to be able to put yourself in a position of like, okay, if he gets hurt again, we have something. But yeah. I think that was everything I wanted to talk about. So unless, do you guys have any final questions? I think I went over everything here. I went through everything. Yeah, so Derek covered tiring. I went through everything I wanted to on Twitter that I saw. All the interviews went all over the rookie things. Make sure at noon Eastern, check out the Monterey Baldwin video that I'm doing. UDFA from Baylor. Underrated UDFA the Dolphins picked up. If we primarily ran a 4-man rush and the rest in coverage, who would be the 4 up top be? By up top, because sometimes people have different... By up top, are you talking about the D-line or are you talking about the DBs? I would say Ewers has the similar strengths to Tua. I think Tua just throws with even more anticipation and more accuracy. And then I would say they have some same faults, but not exactly. I actually think Ewers is probably better off script and like off platform than Tua, maybe. But I mean, he just does it more often than Tua. Like Tua is pretty good when he goes off script. It's just not something he does often. I would say where Ewers really has problems is more so deep ball accuracy. His deep ball last year was horrible, like genuinely awful. So, and I do think that could be fixed though, at least somewhat, because I do think his footwork changed and his footwork clearly was affecting him. So maybe if he cleans up the footwork, his deep ball could go back to being better. But like his balls that he was throwing deep last year were really bad. And then his ability under pressure, I think, is where Ewers has to be better. Because if like this is why, and those are two issues in the Dolphins offense that you can protect. Like the deep ball, you don't always have to throw it deep. The Dolphins last year didn't throw it deep a lot. Before that, they were throwing it deep. And they do a good job of like play action, RPO, keeping the pressure off. Like when he has to play like true drop back and pressure gets on him, like man, he has some really poor decision making in poise. And those are like, I think, the main reasons he fell to the 7th round. Is it 2 edgers and no tackle? Oh yeah, I would say, okay, so the 4, in my opinion, okay, D-line, okay. Yeah, Sealer, Kenneth Grant. I think if it's an obvious passing situation, I think it's going to be Chop and Phillips. But if it's more so maybe your base stuff, I wouldn't be surprised if it's Chubb. Because here's how I'm looking at Chop. It is tough because like I think Chop and Phillips are your most talented, but there are like sides and comfortability. And I think Chop and Phillips are both more comfortable playing left defensive end. They both can play right defensive end, but they both must look more comfortable on the left side. It's similar to Cam Wake. If you remember Cam Wake almost strictly played left defensive end because when he went elsewhere, he just wasn't as good. I think Chop and Phillips both feel more comfortable on the left side, and then Chubb feels more comfortable on the right side. So that's like the tough point of the question is like Chubb will probably be out there a lot because he is more comfortable at right defensive end. So I would probably still keep Chop on the left side, let Phillips be the one that moves around and plays both sides, and then Chubb play on the right side. So yeah. Do you know anything much about the tryout guys? The only name I really recognized was Oben from Notre Dame, RJ Oben. And I thought his film was really bad, but like that was because I thought he was going to be drafted. So him being like a minicamp tryout guy is not the worst thing. But I don't know who will make it. I'll check if any of them like sign on, because last year I think the Dolphins signed Jason Maitre, and Maitre had a pretty good preseason. He stuck around in the practice squad. I believe he's still on the team. So I will check out anyone who signs on. We'll see. Are we winning a playoff game this year? Probably not. I think if they stay healthy, they have a chance. It just depends on who you play. and where. But if I had to guess, probably not. They'd have to stay relatively healthy, I think, to even make the playoffs. If Jackson gets hurt, do you think Jonah will be first in line to fill in, or as a rookie, do you think they will try to keep him in one spot? Ooh, interesting. I think at first they might try to keep him in one spot if I had to guess, but I think if Jackson had to miss like real time, like if it was like a 1-game thing, like during the game, I think they would probably keep Jonah in at right guard. But if it was a multi-game thing, I think they're going to try to put Jonah at right tackle, because I think they probably feel more comfortable with Jonah at right tackle and then putting like Liam or Borum in at guard, because I think if you had to play either of them at tackle, it would be really rough. Gruden sure thinks he's going to be special. Yeah, but Gruden thinks all of those guys that are in his things are going to be special, and most of them don't end up being special. What do you think about Zach? I mean, if the game slows down for him, that would be great. I don't know if that will happen. I do think the Broncos preseason film, it is preseason film, so it's all a grain of salt. He did look more comfortable, but I just don't know. Like, I think he'll be better than people think, but I just don't think, I personally don't think Zach Wilson or Ewers will ever be anything more than a backup. Like, I don't think they're talented enough. So if you want to move on from Tua, I think next year's QB class is where you're looking. Yeah, I talked about that earlier, Lee. Weiss was really the only name getting pointed at, and I talked about it. He's the guy that got the most guaranteed money out of the Dolphins UDFAs. The Dolphins probably like him the most. That's usually what that means, and that gives him a good shot at making it. Even though I slightly prefer Armstrong, it's close enough to where like I could see it. They're both big bodies. Armstrong's a little more explosive, but Weiss is definitely like the more nuanced, detailed player. We cut Zach. Are you talking about Wilson? I don't think they. I think Zach's mostly guaranteed, so I don't think they save money on him. Plus, honestly, I think he'd get another O-line or DB without cutting Zach. I think I'm keeping Zach just because I think you need as many backup QBs as possible. And who knows? Maybe he's surprised. I think he has a higher ceiling for sure, and maybe he can reach something of that ceiling, and you can get something out of it. But I don't know. Yeah, he's guaranteed this year, and it was a 1-year deal. It's very unlikely you cut someone that you signed on a 1-year deal like that. Okay, Tim, are you sure you want me to remember that? Because I will almost guarantee you that that won't happen, and then I actually have a very good memory, and I will come back and tell you that you were wrong. So are you sure you want me to remember that? I've done it before. There's some comments I've got before, like in the past, where people were like, I can tell you with 100% guarantee that this is going to happen, and then it doesn't happen, and I'm like, okay, well, I go back and tell them. So there's this one guy who always leaves negative comments on my main videos, and he made like a guarantee that Kenneth Grant wouldn't go top 15. Like, he's like, I guarantee it won't even be close, and then the Dolphins obviously took Kenneth Grant at 13. And then I just went back and responded to his comment. But I was being a little too petty. Appreciate your opinion. I like what you do with Film City. Great stuff. Keep it. Appreciate you, Steve. Book it. Okay. I will remember your comment because I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being solid, but all-pro superstar, I would be shocked. Absolutely shocked. Bro, I think he has a better chance of getting cut this season by the Browns than being an all-pro. Where are you from, bro? I live in Tennessee. Right now, yeah. Right now I live in Tennessee. I grew up in California, though. All I know is I've already seen them talk. I've already seen like the accounts on Twitter that just point like the aggregators that post like, wow, look at this great throw, and it's like from Shadur, and then another aggregator is like, look at this horrible throw from Shadur, and it's the exact same play. It's like, dude, just let the kid play. Let's see what he's got. Give him a chance. Like all these pointless posts. Jeez. I mean, it's possible, man. Look at the room they have. They have lots of quarterbacks in that room. And it's like, who are they going to cut? He has a chance of not making it. They drafted Gabriel before him. That gives Gabriel a better chance of making it. They have Flacco. They have Kenny Pickett. Deshaun Watson still around. They have that QB room's an absolute mess. Can Chubb rotate into D-tackle like Agba did? Well, to be fair, Agba didn't really do that, especially last year. And I don't think Chubb will do that either. I think more so you'll see D-tackles play big end than you'll see the ends play D-tackle. The only time you would see them rotate into D-tackle is like an obvious pass rush situation, and you would get like Phillips lined up on a guard and let him win with his quickness. Has social media made us more petty? Probably. It's made people a lot more things. I hate social media. I agree. For the most part. Sometimes there's funny stuff, but I do, social media is. People think they can say whatever they want, say some crazy stuff. Yeah, we'll see how this goes. More rookie minicamp day 2. I think I'll probably stream tomorrow as well. I'll probably stream later Sunday, so then I can recap day 2 and 3, and we can go over some more stuff that I didn't get a chance to go over yet. But I got some film breakdowns planned, some other videos planned. I'm still going over UDFAs. Check out the Monterey Baldwin video later. Monterey Baldwin, sleeper. Yeah. How do you become a Dolphins fan? Well, yeah, growing up, I grew up in Southern California. There was no teams when I grew up in Southern California, like NFL teams. And I was never like the type of person just to like a team, like based where I grew up. Like the only teams that I was ever like that was USC, because I loved Reggie Bush. So this is a big part why I'm a Dolphins fan. I loved Reggie Bush growing up. Reggie Bush is the reason I fell in love with football at like a really young age. And then I was like a college football person when I was really young. I never had an NFL team for like a while. And then I was like, you know what? All the people I loved in college football are now in the NFL. It had been a few years. By that time, like I started watching the NFL more. I didn't have a team. Reggie Bush by then had just started on the Dolphins. I became a Dolphins fan, and then I became like obsessed with the Dolphins. Pretty much how it started. Camp starts when today? I don't know what the timing is. They don't have like the times listed, but I think yesterday they started posting like those. Let me see. They started posting around the afternoon, like interviews and stuff. So, like I think around noon we'll see like them start posting stuff again, and then like afternoon is when like you might start seeing like them doing drills and things. Yeah. Hey, shout out Reggie Bush. They robbed him. I have such a vivid memory of being like 8 or 9 years old and seeing Reggie Bush like the first time and just like in the fog. It's the fog game versus like Fresno State. And just a vivid memory of Reggie Bush just scoring so many touchdowns. Yeah. I also just like, I don't know. A lot of people I know, like especially in California, were not. For football, it's weird. Most people in California are not, especially Southern California, because they didn't have LA teams growing up. At least in my age range, we're fans of so many different teams around the world. Now, a lot of them were like Lakers fans. A lot of them are, were either USC or UCLA fans. A lot of them were Dodgers fans. Like you'll meet a lot of Dodgers and Lakers fans in Southern California. But NFL-wise, you didn't meet a lot of Chargers, Rams fans. You'll meet fans of any team. Like my whole friend group in high school were a Ravens fan, a Cowboys fan, an Eagles fan, one Chargers fan, actually 2 Ravens fans. Someone who wasn't even a fan of the NFL was a fan of college football. Then me, a Dolphins fan. Definitely interesting. But yeah, I think I'm gonna end it there. Thank you guys for watching.